Dan Gilroy's 2014 thriller Nightcrawler is a tense, unrelenting movie that, like the horrible accidents our anti-hero makes a living from filming, is both inherently captivating and eye-coveringly repulsive. Lou Bloom, Jake Gyllenhaal's most psychotic role yet, is an incredibly captivating character, clear from the first scene to be a dangerous sociopath and deserves to stand shoulder to shoulder with the likes of Travis Bickle and Patrick Bateman. And like both, he also appears in a movie primed to inspire debate, particularly in how it ends. But what does it all mean? Well, I'm Jules from WhatCulture.com, and that's exactly what we'll be answering right here. So, obviously, spoilers. So first up, what exactly happens? Lou Bloom is a man who scrapes a living from petty theft until he discovers the world of ambulance-chasing journalists who film horrific accidents and hawk their wares to the highest-bidding news channel. This crafts a new career direction. Over time, recording striking images of breaking brutal crimes, Lou builds himself a reputation, gets himself an assistant, and manipulates his way into favor with news controller Nina. He increasingly pushes the boundaries of ethics until eventually he beats the police to a crime in progress, films a horrifying triple murder, and endeavors to solve the murder himself in order to get some career-making footage. Stunningly, and despite him orchestrating the death of his assistant amongst other crimes, he gets away with it, lying his way out of suspicion, and the film ends with Lou expanding his company Video News, bringing in a pair of kitted-out vans, a group of interns, and a previously unfounded air of absolute legitimacy. It's a gut punch to see such a detestable character not only completely get away with his crimes, but become a star in the process. So what does this teach us? Well, obviously, almost painfully so, that the news is amoral. We all know the news is as much of a ratings game as any other area of television. Over the past few decades, leading to increased sensationalization and a misrepresentation of facts. Nightcrawler, however, takes this all a step further, having it slowly unmasked to the point where any justification is just so warped that it's almost invalid. Throughout the film, Nina develops an increasing lack of shyness around her lack of journalistic ethics. She increasingly tries to deter Lou's suggestions of chasing gore, but come the end, she's not only hyping up a spate of killings in a bid to boost ratings, while refusing to help the police, but is actually hiding the true story, refusing to report the drug angle to the triple murder. It's something lying under the surface of this ambulance-chasing style news coverage that only gets fully embraced when somebody as morally skewed as Lou steps into the fray. Yet, this is the surface-level message. What if Lou's journey isn't that of spoon-fed statistics and a torrent of media, but of the sheer fabrication of reality itself? Repeat a lie enough, and you'll believe it as truth. Notice how Lou is never shown to sleep. By night, he stalks the streets of LA looking for potential video footage, and by day, he, by his own admission, spends his time on the internet learning whatever he can to help him in his journey. Between all that, there's little time for him to sleep. Not that his studio apartment looks capable of holding a bed to begin with. This denial of a human need being shown is not a huge point, but it links to a larger aspect, that Lou isn't possibly fully human. He's merely a shell of one, something which is highlighted by his ghoulish and gaunt appearance. When the film opens with shots of LA, there's something almost unreal about it, with what is an almost out-of-place heat haze making the whole city like a mirage. There's something off with this world, and this perception of reality gets a proper call-out when Lou, who is stood in a news studio, pauses suddenly, shocked at how fake-looking the background skyline on the news actually looks up close. The news industry, which feeds us a version of reality that isn't quite right, ties to Lou intrinsically, as he, in essence, is the illusion of an ordinary man. He spouts realistic ideals and puts across a false sheen of professionalism, and the only ones who ever see beyond this exterior are the ones who are explicitly challenging the image he's creating. Joe mocks the lack of professional equipment and ends up in an accident of Lou's orchestration. Nina discovers his dark aspirations when she tries to restrict him. Although Rick believes he was killed because he challenged Lou, the fact he claimed his boss doesn't understand people would have played a huge part. And by the end, when delivering the motivational speech to his new interns, Lou looks 100% genuine, despite spouting the same empty ideals that he did to the late Rick. Nothing has actually changed about him, aside from that his mirage of being real is now harder to break. Now, there's a fair few movies that serve as touchstones for Nightcrawler. Lou is a more world-aware and therefore more unnerving version of Taxi Driver's Travis Bickle, while the stylish structure, bright lights, and music choices have led to various comparisons to Drive. But the film that Nightcrawler directly references in its final moments is actually the usual suspects. Think about how Nightcrawler's final act run-in with the police goes. Lou is held and questioned by a police officer who goes to great pains to seem physically imposing, to whom he then spins an elaborate fake story that manages to name-check all the true elements. He is then freed and walks away from the station, finally removing the facade. It's similar to the ending of Bryan Singer's crime masterpiece in the basic idea, and in execution, it's almost identical. The framing, and we know that's important as he explicitly states it, of Lou leaving the prison exactly copies the Kaiser Soze reveal, with the focus on the watch recalling one of the more subtle clues about the identity of the usual suspect's crime lord. These parallels are far from incidental, turning the films into mirrors of each other. In The Usual Suspects, leaving the police station is a massive rug pull, throwing the whole movie into question. In Nightcrawler, having known the score with Lou from the first scene, we see that just because he's crafted this massive hoax doesn't make him anything more than a disturbed person. The line about the devil's greatest lie is true of both films, that as long as they look real, you can sell them as the truth. What Nightcrawler is ultimately looking at, and really hits home with its ending, is the notion of a work ethic. In a twist on the usual in-it-to-win-it ideal, Lou claims his personal mantra is that if you want to win the lottery, you have to make the money to buy a ticket. It seems like a rather healthy thought, doesn't it? Reminding us that success isn't just based on luck, but hard work as well. But when you actually look at it and its application in the film, it becomes a pretty sick joke. At no point does Bloom actually make the money to buy his way into the lottery of the TV business. His professional life is built around stealing. Whether he's aware of this contradiction, making it part of his false exterior, or actually believes it, is unclear. But either way, it's central to Lou's character. His warped perception of what it takes to get ahead in life is so skewed from the norm, and yet it's that very trait, uninhibited by morality, that ultimately leads to his happy ending. He repeatedly spouts textbook phrases about working hard to achieve, which once he's done illegally by getting his foot in the door, he does, but at the compromise of any sense of moral code. It isn't his knowledge of framing or his cutthroat management technique, but the breaking of the law that gets him ahead. He understands that to win, all you need is the will to do what the other guy wouldn't, which is, if you remember, actually a quote about Kaiser Soze from The Usual Suspects. Like I said before, repeat a lie enough, and you'll believe it as a truth.
Hello, you made it all the way to the end of the video, aren't you good? While you're here, we have other channels that are probably also quite nice, so why not give one of those a little watch? You never know, you might find something you like, or who knows, I might be there as well. Ooh, spooky.